Admiral Edmund Pierce stared at the massive screen in front of him at the British Royal Space Command Center. His coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth as the strange symbols flashed across the display. After 30 years in service, he had never seen anything like this. "Sir, the signal is coming from beyond Mars," said Lieutenant Rogers, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "It's not one of ours, and it's definitely not Russian or Chinese." The Admiral set down his cup carefully. "Get Major Blackwood here. Now." Within 15 minutes, Major Emma Blackwood rushed into the control room, her lab coat still on. As Earth's leading expert in the study of possible alien life, she had spent years preparing for this moment. She just hadn't expected it to happen on a quiet Tuesday morning. "What do we have?" she asked, pulling up a chair next to the communication station. Before anyone could answer, the symbols on the screen changed to English text. The message was short and clear. "To the primitive species of Earth, submit or be destroyed. You have one planetary rotation to decide." The room fell silent. Pierce looked at the young major, whose eyes were fixed on something else entirely, a series of biological readings appearing in the corner of the screen. "Admiral," Emma said quietly, "look at their biological data. They're broadcasting it with the message, probably to scare us, but," she pointed to several numbers, "their cellular structure is nothing like ours. And if these readings are correct, they've never been exposed to anything like Earth's bacteria." Pierce nodded slowly. "So they're not as invincible as they want us to think." "No, sir. But there's something else." Emma leaned closer to the screen. "Their armor. It's designed for environments much colder than Earth. They're not used to our temperature ranges." The next few hours were chaos. More alien ships appeared, taking positions around Earth. They called themselves the Meridian Alliance, a group of advanced species that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Their leader, High Commander Apex, appeared on every screen on Earth, his gray-skinned face looking down at humanity with clear disgust. "Your species is barely out of its cradle," Apex announced. "You still burn fossil fuels. You fight among yourselves. You are unworthy of the space you occupy. Submit to our rule, and you may serve as labor for superior beings. Resist, and we will turn your cities to ash." In the Space Command Center, Pierce watched the alien commander's speech with growing anger, but he noticed something interesting. Every time Earth's sun flared, the aliens' image flickered. Their mighty ships shifted positions, moving away from the solar radiation. Emma was noticing other things too. The aliens' environmental suits, their careful positioning away from Earth's upper atmosphere, their obvious discomfort with Earth's gravity. She wrote everything down quickly. "They think they're superior," she told Pierce, "but they've made their first mistake. They're judging us by their standards, not understanding Earth life at all. Sir, they're not ready for what Earth can throw at them." Pierce picked up the secure phone to call the Prime Minister. Around the world, other military leaders were seeing the same things. Humanity had spent its entire history fighting. Against nature, against each other, against everything that tried to kill them. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and disasters. These aliens thought they were attacking a weak species, but they were about to learn a hard lesson. "Send a message to all commands," Pierce ordered. "Tell them to look for weaknesses. These aliens think Earth is an easy target." He smiled grimly. "Let's show them why that's the biggest mistake in galactic history." As the sun set on that first day, humanity prepared for war. The aliens didn't know it yet, but they had just started a fight with the most stubborn, adaptable, and dangerous species they had ever encountered. Earth wasn't going to submit. Earth was going to teach them why every other alien race would soon mourn their children. Never, ever invade Earth. The Meridian Alliance's chief intelligence officer, stationed on their flagship, was having the worst day of his career. His initial report had described Earth as an easy target. Now, watching the humans' response to their arrival, he realized he had made a terrible mistake. Meanwhile, in an underground facility near London, Oliver Watson wasn't enjoying his retirement anymore. The former Royal Marines veteran had been called back to service just hours after the aliens appeared. Now he stood in a room full of military leaders, pointing at a map. "They're watching our official military bases," he explained, his voice rough from years of command. "But they're not seeing what's under their noses. Every hunting club, every farming community, every sports shooter. They're all potential fighters." Dr. Victoria Pembroke burst into the room, holding a tablet. Her lab coat was stained with coffee, and her eyes were bright with excitement. "The aliens made another mistake," she announced. "Their bioscans missed something huge." The room turned to look at her. Victoria pulled up her data on the main screen. "They think our nuclear weapons are our biggest threat, but they're wrong. It's our bacteria. Their ships." She pointed to an image of the alien vessels. "They're too clean, too perfect. Their immune systems have never dealt with anything like Earth's microbes." Oliver walked closer to the screen. "Are you saying we could defeat them with a common cold?" "Not exactly," Victoria said, "but their bioshields aren't designed for Earth's bacterial diversity. They've evolved in sterile environments. Our planet is their worst nightmare, and they don't even know it yet." Above Earth, the alien ships continued their scan of military installations. Their sensors counted missiles, tanks, and aircraft, but they couldn't count human determination. They couldn't measure the strength that came from evolving on a predator-filled planet. They couldn't understand what it meant to be from Earth. In the war room, General Matthews spread out new satellite photos. "They're positioning their ships in a standard attack formation," he said. "But look here." He pointed to gaps in their lines. "They're staying away from areas with high solar radiation. And here," he pointed to another spot. "They avoid our planet's magnetic poles completely." Oliver studied the patterns. "They're afraid of things we live with every day," he said. "The sun, the magnetic field, the bacteria, even our gravity. It's all hostile to them. We're not the primitive ones. We're the ones who evolved to survive in one of the most challenging environments they've ever seen." Victoria added more data to the screen. "Their environmental suits can't handle our temperature changes. A sunny day followed by a cold night. That's normal for us, but it stresses their systems. And their ships," she smiled. "They've never dealt with anything like our thunderstorms." The alien intelligence officer's day got worse when new data came in. The humans weren't panicking as expected. Instead, they were organizing. Not just their militaries, but everyone. Farmers were hiding their equipment. Hunters were checking their rifles. Scientists were sharing data. The primitive humans were preparing for a fight in ways his scans hadn't predicted. Back in the underground facility, Oliver looked at the gathered leaders. "They think we're weak because we're divided," he said. "But that's our strength. We don't fight like one army. We fight like a million different armies, each with its own ideas, its own methods." He pointed to the alien ships on the screen. "They follow one plan. We'll fight them with a billion plans." Dr. Pembroke finished uploading her bacterial analysis, and while they're trying to figure out our strategies, she added, "Earth itself will be fighting them. Every germ, every virus, every piece of pollen in the air, they're all our allies." As night fell, the aliens prepared their invasion plans, still believing they faced a simple task. But on Earth, humanity was getting ready to show them just how wrong they were. The aliens had looked at Earth's technology and seen a primitive world. They should have looked at Earth's history and seen the deadliest survival experts in the galaxy. Lieutenant James Hartley crouched in the ruins of a Manchester pub, watching alien troops march down the street. Their shiny armor gleamed in the morning sun. They looked powerful, unstoppable. But James knew better. "Ready the surprise," he whispered into his radio. The aliens had taken over the main roads 3 days ago. They thought they controlled the city. They were wrong. Professor Richard Fleming, hiding in his university lab across town, checked his equipment one last time. "The sound weapon is ready," he replied quietly. "Remember, Their hearing is much more sensitive than ours. This will hurt them more than it hurts us." The aliens marched forward in perfect formation. They had done this on 100 worlds. Their tactics had never failed. But they had never fought in a place like Earth before. They had never fought humans. James waited until the alien patrol reached the perfect spot. "Now," he commanded. The sound weapon activated. To human ears, it was just an annoying buzz. But to the aliens, it was torture. Their advanced hearing, usually an advantage, became a weakness. They fell to their knees, their formation broken. That's when James's team struck. They emerged from hiding places all over the street, shops, houses, even underground tunnels. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like street fighters, using everything around them. "Keep moving," James shouted. "Don't stay in one place." His team had learned quickly that standing still meant death. The aliens' weapons were powerful but slow to aim. A moving human was hard to hit. In their command ship, the alien leaders watched in confusion. Their advanced targeting systems couldn't lock onto the humans. They moved too randomly, too unpredictably. They didn't follow any known military pattern. Back on the ground, James's team disappeared into the city's back alleys. They used shortcuts through buildings, underground passages, and routes that didn't show up on any map. The aliens' perfect maps of the city were useless against people who had lived there all their lives. "Report," James called into his radio as his team regrouped in an old warehouse. "6 alien troopers disabled," came the first response. "Their armor doesn't work well in our gravity. Once they fall, they struggle to get up." "Their communications are disrupted," added another voice. "The city's metal structures interfere with their signals. They can't coordinate their movements." Professor Fleming's voice crackled over the radio. "Better news. I've analyzed their armor from the pieces we captured. It's designed for extreme temperatures in space, but it overheats easily in Earth's atmosphere. They're cooking inside their own suits." James smiled. Every day they learned more about their enemies' weaknesses. The aliens had expected to fight armies. Instead, they were fighting shopkeepers who knew every alley, students who understood the subway tunnels, and construction workers who could turn building sites into traps. In another part of the city, an alien patrol entered a shopping center. They found it empty, their sensors showing no life signs. But sensors couldn't detect everything. The local football club supporters had turned the building into a maze of traps. The aliens' perfect formation was useless in the tight spaces between shops. "They're retreating from the city center," James reported to headquarters. "They don't know how to fight an enemy they can't see or predict. They don't understand why their advanced weapons and armor aren't winning the war." The answer was simple. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other in cities. They knew every trick, every tactic. The aliens' advanced technology meant nothing against centuries of urban warfare experience. As night fell, James watched the alien ships hovering above the city. They looked less impressive now. Their perfect formation had gaps. Their confident patrol patterns had become cautious and uncertain. They were learning a lesson that Earth's history had taught many times before. Superior technology doesn't guarantee victory. They thought they were invading a primitive world. James told his team as they prepared for another night of resistance. Instead, they'd walked into the galaxy's best survival training ground. Earth doesn't create weak species. It creates warriors. Dr. Victoria Pembroke stared through her microscope in the underground laboratory. What she saw made her smile. On the slide, Earth bacteria were breaking down a piece of alien biological material. "Captain Whitmore," she called out, "you need to see this." Captain Eleanor Whitmore of MI6 walked over. She had been working with Victoria for the past week, planning how to use Earth's microscopic life as a weapon. "Their immune systems are failing," Victoria explained. "They've never encountered anything like Earth's bacteria. Even their air filters can't stop everything." Eleanor looked at the data on the computer screen. "How many alien soldiers are sick?" "About 30% of their ground forces," Victoria replied. They're trying to hide it, but their medical ships are getting busier every day. Earth's germs are winning this fight for us. In their ships above Earth, the alien leaders faced a crisis. Their troops were falling ill with strange diseases. Their bioshields, which had protected them on 100 other worlds, couldn't handle Earth's aggressive microbes. We must change our suits, an alien medical officer reported to High Commander Apex. Earth's atmosphere is full of microscopic life forms. They're everywhere. In the air, in the water, even in the soil. How long will it take? Apex demanded. Months, at least. We've never seen such biological diversity. Each time we adapt to one threat, we find 10 more. Back in the underground lab, Victoria showed Eleanor something new. Look at this, she said, pointing to a monitor. Earth's pollen is causing allergic reactions in their troops. Spring is coming, and they have no defense against it. Eleanor nodded. Nature is fighting on our side. Can we use this? Victoria pulled up a map. Their main base is near a flower field. When the flowers bloom next week, the pollen will overwhelm their filters. They won't be able to stay there. In the alien medical ships, doctors worked desperately to save their soldiers. They had conquered worlds with powerful weapons, but they couldn't fight the invisible army of Earth's microbes. Their sterile worlds hadn't prepared them for this. Another patrol is down. A medical officer reported. Common Earth bacteria got through a crack in their suits. Their immune systems can't cope. On the ground, human scientists shared their findings. Every hospital, every laboratory, every university worked together. They studied the aliens' biological weaknesses and found more every day. Victoria looked at her latest test results. Their skin can't handle Earth's natural fungi. She told Eleanor, even simple mold makes them sick. They're not built for a living planet like Earth. Eleanor checked her tablet. Our agents report they're using stronger air filters now, but that's making their other problems worse. Yes, Victoria agreed. The filters stop the bacteria but make it harder to breathe in Earth's gravity. They're trading one problem for another. In their command ship, High Commander Apex received more bad news. A whole division had fallen ill after drinking filtered Earth water. Even their best purification systems couldn't remove all of Earth's microscopic life. This planet is poison to us, his medical chief admitted. Everything here has evolved to survive. Everything fights back. We've never seen anything like it. Victoria worked late into the night, studying more samples. Earth has spent billions of years creating tough life forms. She explained to Eleanor, our bacteria, our viruses, our fungi, they're all survivors. The aliens thought technology could protect them, but they're fighting against billions of years of evolution. Eleanor watched the alien ships through a window. They were keeping their distance now, afraid of Earth's invisible defenders. They came to conquer us, she said, but they forgot something important. Earth isn't just our home, it's our fortress. Every microbe, every spore, every bit of pollen, they're all part of Earth's defense system, and they've been defending this planet since long before humans existed. Victoria looked at her microscope again. Under the lens, Earth's smallest life forms continued their relentless attack on alien cells. The invaders were learning a hard lesson. Earth's life, from its smallest bacteria to its largest creatures, was built to survive. And anything that threatened that survival would face the full force of billions of years of evolutionary warfare. Dr. Benjamin Clark stood in his workshop at the Royal Military Research Center, surrounded by pieces of alien technology. 3 crashed alien ships had provided enough material to change the course of the war. "Pass me that wrench," he said to his team. They were working on something that would shock the aliens, their own weapons, but better. The aliens think we're primitive because we don't have spaceships, Ben explained to Major William Abbott, who was watching nearby. But they forgot something important. Humans are really good at taking things apart and making them better. Will picked up a piece of alien armor. How long until the new weapons are ready? First batch is done already, Ben replied with a smile. He walked over to a covered table and pulled off the sheet. Under it were 20 rifles that looked like a mix of human and alien design. These are better than the alien ones, Ben explained. Their weapons are powerful but waste too much energy. We fixed that. Made them work better in Earth's gravity too. In space, the alien commanders were getting worried reports. Their broken weapons and crashed ships weren't just being collected, they were being changed, improved. Impossible, High Commander Apex said when he heard the news. They can't understand our technology. It's too advanced. But he was wrong. Humans had spent centuries taking things apart to see how they worked. Cars, computers, phones, everything humans got, they learned to improve. Will took a team to test the new weapons at a secret base. The aliens had always aimed their weapons using computers. But Ben's team had added simple gun sights, making them easier to use. Their technology is amazing, Ben told Will during the tests. But they rely on it too much. They forgot that simple things often work better. The alien leaders watched in shock as their own weapons were used against them. But now these weapons worked better than before. The humans had taken alien technology and mixed it with their own knowledge. They've added cooling systems, an alien engineer reported. They found out our weapons overheat in Earth's atmosphere and fixed the problem. They did in days what we couldn't do in years. Ben's team worked day and night. They didn't just copy alien technology. They made it their own. They added human touches that made the weapons more practical, more reliable. Look at this, Ben showed Will. Their ships use fancy computers for everything. But we added backup systems, simple ones that work even if the computers fail. In war, simple and reliable beats fancy and complicated. The aliens had never seen anything like it. On other worlds, captured technology was usually just copied. But humans were different. They saw problems and fixed them. They found ways to make things better. Will led the first attack using the improved weapons. His soldiers carried rifles that looked alien but worked like human guns. They wore armor that combined alien protection with human flexibility. They don't understand, Will told his troops before the battle. Every piece of technology they lose becomes our advantage. We learn from everything. The attack was a complete success. The aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. Their own weapons being used better than they had ever used them. Back in his workshop, Ben was already working on the next improvement. Humans have always been good at this, he explained to a visiting admiral. We see something new. We figure it out. We make it better. It's what we do. The admiral looked at the improved alien technology with pride. They thought giving us their weapons by accident would make no difference because we're too primitive to understand them. That was their biggest mistake, Ben replied. Humans are the best tool makers in history. We don't just understand technology, we improve it. And now, everything they lose becomes our strength. High Commander Apex watched the battle reports with growing fear. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were getting stronger. Every defeat made them more dangerous. They weren't just surviving. They were learning, adapting, and improving. Commander Margaret Winters stood on the bridge of HMS Thunderchild, watching storm clouds gather over the North Sea. The weather forecast on her screen showed exactly what she had been waiting for, a massive storm system moving in. Perfect weather for hunting aliens, she said to her crew. The aliens hated Earth's storms. Their ships weren't built for weather like this. Storm front approaching, ma'am, reported her weather officer. Wind speed 40 knots and rising. Heavy rain beginning in 10 minutes. Margaret smiled. The aliens thought humans were primitive for living on a planet with such extreme weather. They were about to learn why that made humans stronger, not weaker. Above the sea, alien ships tried to maintain their perfect formation. But Earth's weather didn't care about their advanced technology. Strong winds battered their vessels. Lightning strikes played havoc with their sensors. Their ships are breaking formation, reported Margaret's radar operator. The storm is disrupting their anti-gravity systems. The aliens had never fought in conditions like this. Their ships were designed for the calm of space, not the fury of Earth's weather. Rain interfered with their targeting systems. Wind made their fancy weapons miss their marks. "Launch the attack," Margaret ordered. Her ship, designed for Earth's worst storms, moved forward smoothly through the rough seas. The aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. Human ships were attacking them in weather that their own ships could barely handle. Every lightning strike made their systems crash and restart. Every wave threw off their aim. How do they fight in these conditions? An alien captain asked as another lightning bolt knocked out his ship's sensors. The answer was simple. Humans had been sailing in storms for thousands of years. They knew how to use bad weather to their advantage. They're trying to retreat to higher altitude. Margaret's second officer reported. The storm's too much for them. But retreating wasn't easy. The storm had grown stronger, trapping the alien ships in a maze of wind and rain. Their advanced sensors, usually so precise, were nearly useless in the storm. Back at Naval Command, Admiral Pierce watched the battle unfold. The aliens made another mistake, he told his staff. They thought our weather was a weakness. They never understood that it made us stronger. On her ship, Margaret ordered another attack run. Her crew worked smoothly, used to fighting in rough seas. Their weapons, modified by Dr. Clark's team, worked perfectly in the storm. 3 alien ships disabled, reported the weapons officer. Their shields can't handle both our attacks and the weather. The aliens had never faced an enemy like this. On their worlds, everyone stayed inside during bad weather. But humans had learned to fight in every condition Earth could create. "They're calling for help," the communications officer said. "But the storm is blocking their signals." Margaret checked the weather radar. The storm was getting even stronger. Perfect. Earth was fighting alongside its people, throwing everything it had at the invaders. "Their ships aren't designed for horizontal rain," she explained to her crew. "Their sensors can't handle lightning. Their computers get confused by rapid pressure changes. Everything that's normal for us is a disaster for them." The battle turned into a complete victory. The alien ships either retreated or were disabled, unable to fight in conditions that human ships handled easily. Later, in her report to command, Margaret wrote, "The aliens forgot something important. Earth's weather isn't just part of our world. It's part of who we are. We don't just survive in it. We learn to use it as a weapon." In their orbital ships, the alien commanders added another item to their growing list of mistakes. They had thought Earth's harsh and changing weather was a sign of a primitive world. Instead, it had created a species that could fight and win in conditions that their advanced technology couldn't handle. "These humans," High Commander Apex said, watching another squad of ships retreat from a storm, "they don't just live on their world. They've made its very dangers into their strengths." Colonel Henry Blackwood sat in his office at the Military Intelligence Headquarters, watching alien communication signals on his screen. After 30 years of studying human psychology, he was now using his skills against a very different kind of enemy. "They're afraid," he told his team. "Not just worried. They're truly scared. And scared enemies make mistakes." The aliens had started their invasion feeling confident. Now, they jumped at shadows. Every cloud might hide a storm. Every piece of dust might carry deadly Earth bacteria. Every human device might be better than their own technology. "Their soldiers are asking to go home," said Anna, Henry's best analyst. "They've never lost a war before. They don't know how to handle it." Henry nodded. He knew something about the alien commanders that they didn't even realize themselves. They were experiencing fear for the first time in their military history. "Send out the night messages," he ordered. Across the alien communication channels, human broadcasts began playing. They weren't threats or demands. They were worse. They were the sounds of Earth at night. Wolf howls, owl calls, thunder in the distance. Simple sounds that reminded the aliens they were on a wild, living planet they couldn't control. Their officers are reporting nightmares, Anna said, reading the latest intercepted messages. They're dreaming about Earth's creatures, about our storms, about humans appearing from nowhere to attack them. In their ships and bases, the alien soldiers were changing. They had come to Earth thinking they were the strongest beings in the galaxy. Now they felt small and weak. Look at their patrol patterns, Henry pointed to a map. They're staying in larger groups. They're avoiding dark places. They're scared of Earth's nights, Earth's weather, even Earth's insects. The psychological warfare was working better than anyone had expected. The aliens had no defense against fear. Their perfect technology and strict training hadn't prepared them for feeling afraid. They're starting to see threats everywhere, Henry explained to Admiral Pierce during a briefing. A flock of birds makes them panic. A thunderstorm sends them running. They're breaking down. The Admiral smiled. And how are their commanders handling this? Badly, Henry replied. They can't understand why their soldiers are afraid. They've never had to deal with fear before. Their whole military is built on always being the strongest. Now they know they're not. In their bases, alien soldiers jumped at every sound. Earth's natural noises, which humans barely noticed, terrified them. The darkness of Earth's nights, deeper than anything on their worlds, made them huddle in their lit rooms. Send the next message, Henry ordered. This time, the broadcast was simple, the sound of human laughter echoing through alien communications. It drove home a terrible truth. The humans weren't afraid of them anymore. Their commanders are getting desperate, Anna reported. They're punishing soldiers who show fear, but it's making things worse. More soldiers are refusing to go on patrol. Henry watched the alien ships through his window. They kept their lights on all the time now, burning through power just to push back Earth's darkness. They were afraid of what might be hiding in the shadows. Humans have lived with fear all our lives, he told his team. We know it. We understand it. We learn to work through it. But the aliens, they're feeling it for the first time, and it's breaking them. The final blow to alien morale came from an unexpected source. Their own medical officers reported that Earth's conditions were affecting their soldiers' minds. The constant stress of Earth's gravity, the endless noise of its living things, the never-ending threat of its weather and diseases. It was all too much. They're not just losing the war, Henry told Admiral Pierce in his final report. They're losing their confidence. Their belief in their own superiority is gone. And without that belief, their whole military structure is falling apart. High Commander Apex, watching his mighty invasion force crumble, finally understood. They hadn't just underestimated human technology or human tactics. They had underestimated human strength, the strength that came from living on a dangerous world, from facing fear every day, from knowing how to fight even when afraid. Admiral Edmund Pierce stood in the United Nations building, watching the alien ships retreat from Earth's orbit. After 6 months of fighting, the mighty Meridian Alliance had finally admitted defeat. They're broadcasting something, his communications officer said. It's going out to the whole galaxy. On screens around the world, High Commander Apex's face appeared one last time. But now he looked different. The arrogance was gone from his eyes. He looked tired, beaten, and scared. To all spacefaring races, Apex announced, this is an official warning. The planet Earth is to be avoided at all costs. Its people are not primitive. Its environment is not weak. Both are more dangerous than any force we have ever encountered. Dr. Victoria Pembroke stood next to the Admiral, holding her latest research results. They're still trying to understand how they lost, she said. Their medical ships are full of soldiers who can't fight anymore. Earth's bacteria alone defeated half their army. On the screen, Apex continued his warning. Earth's humans have turned our own weapons against us, made them better. They use their planet's weather as a weapon. They fight in ways we cannot predict. And worst of all, they learn from every defeat, growing stronger each time we attack them. James Hartley, now promoted to captain, smiled as he watched from Manchester. His city still showed signs of battle, but it had never fallen to the aliens. They thought cities would be easy targets, he said to his team. Instead, each city became a trap they couldn't escape. The alien commander's voice grew more serious. But the humans themselves are not even the greatest threat. Their planet fights with them. Its bacteria destroy our health. Its weather destroys our ships. Its gravity weakens our soldiers. Even its plants make us sick. Commander Margaret Winters, watching from her ship in the North Sea, nodded in agreement. They never understood that Earth itself was our strongest ally, she told her crew. Every storm, every germ, every change in weather fought on our side. Apex's final words carried a clear warning. Earth is not a primitive world to be conquered. It is a fortress, defended by the most adaptable and determined species we have ever encountered, and supported by the most hostile environment we have ever tried to survive in. In the UN building, Colonel Henry Blackwood watched the alien ships disappear into space. "They'll tell stories about Earth now," he said. "Stories about the planet that broke their undefeated army. Stories about humans who turned their own weapons against them. Stories about a world that fights alongside its people." Admiral Pierce turned to address the gathered leaders. "They came here thinking we were weak because we fight among ourselves," he said. "They never understood that those fights made us stronger. Every war in human history taught us something. Every battle made us more ready for this moment." Dr. Pembroke added her own thoughts. "They called us primitive because we live on a changing, dangerous world. But that's exactly what made us strong. Earth's challenges created a species that never stops adapting, never stops improving, and never gives up." As the last alien ship vanished from Earth's sensors, humanity began to look toward the stars with new confidence. They were no longer just one more primitive world waiting to be conquered. They were Earth's people, the survivors, the adapters, the ones who had defeated the galaxy's greatest military power. "So what do we do now?" someone asked the Admiral. Pierce smiled. "Now we take everything we've learned and grow stronger. The aliens gave us their technology by accident. We've improved it. They showed us we're not alone in the galaxy. We've proved we belong among the stars. And most importantly, they taught us something about ourselves." "What's that?" asked a young officer. "They taught us that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology," Pierce replied. "It's our ability to face anything new, learn from it, and come back stronger." The aliens thought they were attacking Earth's weakest species. Instead, they found its greatest defenders. As night fell on a free Earth, humans everywhere looked up at the stars with pride. The galaxy now knew what the aliens had learned the hard way. Earth was not a target. Earth was not weak. Earth was a world that created warriors, and its people would never be conquered.